think this speaks to my next question already, but I think it's so interesting that we've actually seen cell and gene therapies as one example of the next generation of medicine that are now approved, that are coming online. It's finally happening, and it's exciting. And from these early successes, there are lessons to be learned that there's a whole other tranche coming behind them that are just sort of trying to gain access and insight from the leaders and the pioneers so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I wonder if you could share some of your insights there.
Oh, gosh. One of the big things I think we learned as somebody who works in quality is in the old days when you released a lot of something, it was 40,000 vials, 80,000 vials, 10 million tablets. In cell and gene therapy, a lot can be one. You get a set of cells from a patient. You treat those cells and genetically engineer them and program them to do something, and then you send them back so they go to the patient. You're faced with all kinds of challenges, like your production suite is producing one lot for one patient. The cost of that is extremely high, very, very high. So if you look at the initial CAR T therapies that have come onto the market, the treatment can be $600,000, $800,000, $1 million. Very, very expensive. So there's a big push to try to be able to do some of these novel therapies at a much lower price point and to figure out how to be able to do that. So I would say that in manufacturing and supply chain, that's going to be the leading edge for the cell and gene therapies that have come forward, is now how to produce them in a fast, flexible, easy way and make it less expensive. But the things coming forward are things like exosomes. The things coming forward are, in regenerative medicine, have a lot to do with how we program tissue, how we treat cells, using exosomes. I think that's going to be a very vast space. I also think we're on the fringe of some additional breakthroughs in oncology. I met with somebody that could be a potential client here at the conference yesterday who is working on precision vaccines and immunotherapy. I remove your cells. I program your T cells for your specific tumor. I give them back to you, and it's for a metastasized cancer indication, which means I'm never going to put you in remission, but the tumors will be small enough that you can live with them comfortably and live in a state of stasis. That is absolutely a miraculous thing. But the ability, the technology and the ability to do that, the level of sequencing, the kind of bioanalytical technology that we need to demonstrate that's reproducible. And how do you validate something when a lot is one? When you make a lot of 100,000 or 80,000 or 40,000 and you make 3 lots over time, you've got a very large statistical basis for your data to say, okay, I can do this reliably and reproducibly. How do you do that when it's one? You do it 3 times and you're done? Some of the clients that I have in cell and gene or some of the tissue therapy clients I've worked with, FDA has said to them, no, 3 is not enough, because 3 was one, a sample of 1. So it becomes very difficult because you then need to think about how do you characterize and validate your process over time while you're in clinical development, which is not how the pharmaceutical and biopharmaceutical industries think. Mm-hmm. It's very challenging, and it means you have to find the point where your process is well enough developed and it's not going to change dramatically. And at that point, you can take many more samples from these lots of one and do a lot more measurement and monitoring those production runs to understand that your process is reliable and reproducible over time. It's a big challenge.
Not to people listen to this thing to hear from the expert, not from me, but I have been sitting in the back of conference rooms for a decade, and many years ago there was a pharmaceutical executive who says, I know this works, but I can only right now make it work for 100 millionaires and billionaires, and I've got 5 or 6 years to figure out how to commercialize it so that I can sell it into a socialized medicine system for everybody. And that is the challenge that's facing me, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about.
That is exactly what I'm talking about. And the challenge is, even though there are probably some insurance plans that will pay for things like CAR T therapy when you're a cancer patient, or maybe this vaccine that I'm referencing that's in phase 2, moving into phase 3 for certain forms of cancer, these are extremely expensive therapies, and it's very hard for me to believe that private insurance will probably pay the majority of that time and time and time again. Mm-hmm. It's harder for me to believe that socialized medicine could ever afford it. And certainly in the more highly developed nations, they're going to be able to afford more of it than those that are not as highly developed, right? Because the financial base isn't there to support the healthcare system.